hasn't arrived yet, so we're just going to get a substitute and we will get started. So just a minor delay.
Ryan will do it.
Pass that down. Okay.
I'm doing it.
Okay.
All right, Carla.
You ready? Recording ready? All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Plainfield Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. I'll call the meeting to order and start with roll call on the left.
Frank Mills.
Kathy Harris.
Art Haskell.
June Gagley.
Carla DeStardens.
Dan Kipskevich.
Katie O'Neill.
Ryan Bray.
Sean Staub.
All right. So we do have a quorum, and all regular members are present, so no alternates are appointed this evening. Going right into our public hearings, item A, 24-15SP of Mitchell Bayou, requesting a special permit for an ADU on property located at 45 Lake Street, Assessor's Map 4M, Block 109, Lot 45. Does the applicant have any items they want to present to the public for the public hearing? Yep, go ahead.
So we were here last month for the public hearing for that ADU, and we are waiting on confirmation for that removal of the bedroom wall. So I just wanted to double check with Ryan and make sure that all went through. We looked at the plans that he would send back to us, so we just wanted to confirm that was going to work.
Yes, with the bedroom wall removed, it is dropped down to 2 bedrooms for the ADU and is in compliance with the zoning regulations.
Okay, so that was the item we were waiting for last month. So this is a public hearing, so if there's anyone with a comment or question on this application, you can step up to the microphone and make your comment or ask your question. So any comments or questions on this application? Okay, hearing and seeing none. Any comments or questions from board members? Okay. Any additional comments from staff?
No.
Okay. Hearing and seeing no other comment, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by June to close public hearing, second by John. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Public hearing is closed and it'll go into the old business. So,
Thank you.
yeah. Moving on to item B, 24-112TA of the Planning and Zoning Commission, proposing a text amendment to the zoning regulations, general updates to section 12.32, earth excavation, processing, and removal. Ryan, would you give summary of the changes, please?
Sure. So there are some fairly minor changes. One of the ones that we had was to get rid of a lot of the language for the non-conforming gravel operations, which the language went into effect in 1992. We just condensed it and summed it up. So it states that non-conforming operations that existed prior to December 11, 1990 were required to submit an application within 180 days of the effective date of that text amendment in order to continue operating under their non-conforming status. That's just a history. For operations that were granted a special permit that had not expired as of the date of adoption of this amendment, the Commission reserves the right to grant a new special permit in accordance with what was previously approved under the former regulations. All other operations must comply with the standards of this section. So we have a number of operations that have existing special permits. Those operations, they can come back in under the same plan, and any changes do not have to be applied if the Commission doesn't want to apply them. So we had exemptions under the old regulations, and we modified them somewhat. First modification, we deleted the entire section. We replaced it with this language. Excavation of less than 100 cubic yards of material over a 24-month period from a lot may be approved with a zoning permit rather than a special permit. An erosion and sediment control plan must be submitted. So basically just showing what you're going to have for silt fence. Excavation involving excavation involving the movement of earth products from one part of the premises to another. when such removal, filling, or filling is made for agricultural purposes or landscaping. So basically, if you have a farm, you can relocate material from one part of the farm to another as long as it's not being removed from the property. Disturbance in excess of 1/2 acre of soil requires a zoning permit and erosion sediment control, and that goes for any property. If you're disturbing more than 1/2 acre, you need an E&S plan. Necessary excavation, grading, removal, or filling incidental to construction or alteration of a building or structure for which a zoning permit and where required, a building permit has been issued. So that would be exempt from special permit to remove that material. Necessary excavation or grading of up to 500 cubic yards of material or filling incidental to the construction or alteration of a public road within a subdivision that was approved by the commission and recorded in the town clerk's office in accordance with the Plainfield subdivision regulations. That would also be exempt. And the last one, earth excavation operations in existence prior to the adoption of zoning regulations and submitted an application within 180 days of adoption of earth excavation regulations, which was December 11th, 1990, are non-conforming uses and are exempt from zoning regulations. So if you currently have an exempt gravel operation because you were grandfathered in back in 1990, none of this applies to you. There was just some cleanup language that does not affect anything, such as an application, requirements and procedures. Applicants must submit a special permit instead of what we had before, a written application. That's very basic. Minimum setbacks. So we require minimum setbacks from a property line when we have an earth excavation, provided it's not part of a construction project. Currently reads minimum setbacks. No fixed reportable machinery, equipment, or building shall be erected or maintained within 100 feet of an adjoining property line or street. Limits of active excavation for property lines and streets shall be no less than, it currently reads 50 feet. We're bumping it up to 100 feet, so 100-foot buffer from neighboring properties when not in conjunction with a construction project to develop the site. Hours of operation. Operating hours shall be between the hours of 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. Currently, it goes to 7 p.m., so that changes till 5 o'clock. Monday through Friday, and 8 a.m. and 12 o'clock p.m. on Saturday with no Sunday or federal holiday operation. So that is new. In all but the industrial districts. Industrial districts can go until 7 to 7. The commission may stipulate a reasonable operating hours which may be restricted depending on the nature of the surrounding uses. So as these are special permits, the commission can modify the hours of operation. Under final grading, minimum setbacks allowed shall be, and we have 100 feet, but it used to be 50 feet, except when part of an approved site development plan, so project. For approved development, the final slope shall not exceed 1 foot vertical to 2 foot horizontal within 50 feet of the property line and 1 foot vertical to 3 feet horizontal within 20 feet of the property line. A retaining wall will be required if the proposed development exceeds those parameters. That is a new section there. And that sums it up.
Thank you, Ryan. This is a public hearing, so if anyone has a comment or question on these regulations, you can step up to the microphone and make your comment or question.
Hi, I'm Steve Walsh, 90 Canterbury Road, Plainfield. The only couple problems I have with this is the federal holiday thing. There's a long list of those holidays that most places work. I pulled up the list there. I'd say half of them shouldn't be on there. I think we should itemize which holidays that they're not allowed to work. And then Saturdays, I think, should be 7 a.m. also, instead of 8 a.m. And 2 p.m. is common in some other towns doing it, to put on Saturdays. Everything else I thought was good.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
And if you could just state your name for the record.
Stephen Walsh,
Thank you.
90 Canterbury Road.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madeline
Smith. I'm corporate counsel for Strategic Commercial Realty, Inc., doing business with Ross Materials. We took a look at the proposed changes, and we're just looking for some background and understanding on the suggested increase from 50 to 100 feet for the setbacks. As you know, gravel and sand are finite materials. They're required for roads and a lot of the building and construction that your town is looking to do, and the state's looking to do, and the country as a whole is looking to do. And so, you know, the additional 50 feet kind of takes away from the ability to mine the property. I understand there is an exception for building permits, but if you're going for a standard special permit for an excavation site, you are still required to do an excavation plan. There's no research, to my knowledge, that shows that a 100-foot setback versus a 50-foot setback has any impact on the neighboring properties. And then we would just like clarification if a adjacent landowner was willing to grant a waiver of setback, if that would be reviewed by the commission and allowed to get rid of a setback entirely on one side of the property. I will second what the gentleman before me said. The federal holidays, we would just look for clarification on what those might be, because there are some that are state holidays, but not federal holidays, just clarification on what the commission is looking to enforce. Thank you.
Ryan, for clarification, all setbacks are subject to zoning board of appeals variances. Am I right about that?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so when the commission sets a side yard or front variance can be applied for.
Well, you're supposed to show a hardship.
Right, correct. But that's the process it would be subject to. So the regulation would be the regulation, except for non-conforming grandfathered, current operations that currently have setbacks, they can apply for the same setbacks they currently have. This would be for brand new applications, would be subject to new regulations without exception.
Right. So I would suggest that instead of having people go for a variance, you design a waiver. And so if somebody's coming up against, say, a housing development, you could say, we're going to keep the 100 feet. If there's just woods out there, then you really don't have to keep that 100 feet because you're not disturbing anyone.
I have to agree with Brian on that. You know, going for a variance is a little tricky. There is no true hardship.
Okay. So what you'd be saying is in 12.32.7 section A, where it has minimum setbacks, you would add a sentence that says the commission may grant a waiver of 100 feet to no less than minimum 50 feet. Okay. So that's one suggestion. Okay.
Joe Sangamano, 1221 North Road. So pretty much what they said, what you were just saying about the 100-foot setback would be, that would be fair. That was one of my concerns. And the other concern is the federal holidays. We all work most of the holidays. I mean, I understand there's a handful of holidays that we shouldn't work. I understand that. So I would think you guys should specify the holidays and kind of use your better judgment on that, because not everybody has a federal job or a state job where they get those days off. And a lot of us that can't work on a job on a federal holiday are preparing for that job, which may be hauling from the pit. So that's something also to take into consideration. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the audience?
Jenny Kipsikevich, 265 Gendron Road. The town of Plainfield promotes that it's business friendly and encourages businesses to establish themselves in our community. I'm expressing my opposition to the restrictive language within the revision around hours of operation and no operation on federal holidays. The Planning and Zoning Commission should continue to support regulations regarding setbacks, water control, or drainage. But telling a business when they can operate is not pro-business. Gravel operations may run excavation equipment that is noisy, but they also load a variety of construction materials into trucks that need to head to job sites, including state jobs, businesses, and private residences. These materials also support other small businesses who are performing those tasks. such as that patio someone wants off their back door, or a septic system that needs for a new home, or perhaps the loom that's needed for a raised bed garden. By restricting the operating hours and days, there are downstream ripple effects on many businesses. Currently, there are 12 federal holidays. Gravel operations and their supporting industries are labor positions who earn hourly wages. They do not have the luxury to pay their employees for federal holiday through a salary. We should not support regulation language that makes it harder for a business to earn a living and pay their employees. Local trash haulers don't close on federal holidays because they can't. They need to work those days to provide a service for our community and pay their employees. The all federal language should be replaced with perhaps 5 major holidays: Memorial Day, Independence Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. The hours of operation should be restored to 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and Saturday hours should be brought in to be 7 a.m. until at least 2 p.m. How can we have regulations that restrict a business when I have observed our own town maintenance crews working just after 7 a.m. with payloaders and trucks on our roadways? Without these essential labor jobs and aggregate producers, our community would not thrive. So we should only support language that allows them to do their jobs, earn a living, and make payroll. Encourage language with the major holidays and broader hours of operation Monday through Saturday. This is pro-business, and pro-business is good for everyone.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the public? Any comments or questions from board members?
Actually, I don't agree with changing any of the hours right now because we've got a couple of big warehouses probably coming into town, and I would suggest not changing any of the times, just leaving it, waiting to see what the traffic patterns are going to be in town.
So you can save that for deliberation.
Okay, all right, that was my...
But there is a note about industrial districts and industrial park. So Ryan, am I correct that these hours of operation do not apply to industrial districts and industrial park?
Right, I did notice an error on that.
Okay.
So just for clarity, this would be section 12.32.7, performance standards, and this would be subsection D, hours of operation. Operating hours shall be between the hours of 7 a.m. and 5 o'clock p.m., Monday through Friday, and 8 a.m. and 12 o'clock p.m. on Saturday with no Sunday or federal holiday operation in all but the industrial districts and the industrial park district. And I forgot to include the language where operations may be allowed to 7 o'clock p.m. in the industrial park.
Then when the commission deliberates the federal holiday schedule, that can be done during deliberation and does not need to be done during public hearing?
Correct.
Okay.
Madam Smith, Chief of Commercial Realty, Doing Business Ross Materials. Just to speak to the caveat for the industrial park districts, not all of our excavation sites are going to be located in that district. A lot of them are in a residential and agriculture, so I would just caution you there. I understand the thought behind it, but you might run into some issues. I also meant to point out, I believe you're missing the word wall in 1237J.
Yeah, it does say will instead of wall.
Okay.
So typo will be corrected. Okay. Any other comments or questions from the public on this application? Any other comments or questions from board members? And anything else from staff?
Nope, I think we covered all in deliberation.
Okay. Hearing and seeing no other comments, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by June to close the public hearing. Second by John. Or was that Bart?
That's John.
That was John. Second by John. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Public hearing is closed. Moving on to item C, 24-18 SP of Ritchie Brothers Auctioneers, Inc., requesting a special permit modification to site plan approval on property located at 1260 Norwich Road, Assessors Map 5, Block 3, Lot 1, Industrial 1 Zoning District. And do we have speaking for the applicant?
CLA Engineers, here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Ritchie Brothers Auctioneers. We're here tonight for a site plan modification for a property at 1260 Norwich Road, on Route 12. I'm sure most of the commission is familiar with this property. I've ran into you guys on the site plan here. Route Road is running down the left side of the sheet here. Norwich Road, Route 12, running across the top of the sheet there. The property is about 103 acres, like I said, located at the intersection of Route Road and Norwich Road. It's in the industrial zone. The property is currently under an ongoing earth material excavation project. And you may remember last January, the project was approved for the Ritchie Brothers auction facility for an administrative building, an auction display area, a shop, and a washdown area for the Ritchie Brothers auctioneers. So tonight we're here proposing to modify that site plan that was approved as part of that project. And I can go through a couple of the items that we are proposing to change. One item is the location of the check-in building for the property. On the previous approval, the check-in building was located right about in this area here, on the flat area. What we're proposing is to relocate that to this upper corner here for the Ritchie Brothers operation. It is better for their traffic circulation on the property. The other item that we're looking to add to the project would be an additional display area. That would be located to the northeast of the administration building and the washdown and shop area. This will be a very similar display area to what will exist and was proposed and approved as part of the previous application, the bottom of the excavation area. This one will be located basically on another level. This will be raised up above the bottom of the excavation. The grades on the site will be very similar to what exists now. The cuts and fills are within about 2 feet of each other, so there won't be a substantial excavation like there's ongoing on the property now. The access to the property, to the new display area, will be from the previously approved driveway coming off of Route 12. There will be a spur coming off of that onto the display area. And as I said, the surface of the display area will be asphalt millings, the same as what would be what was approved on the previous site plan for the other display area. Runoff from this area will all be overland flow. It will be directed to a stormwater settling basin, a vegetated basin to be excavated. The new basin right in this location here. So the stormwater will all be directed from this area down to this basin. It will function very much the same as the previous settling basins that are located around the excavation area. It will be a vegetated basin. Stormwater will collect, and then there is a good sandy soil, so the stormwater will then infiltrate into the ground in that area. Through the 100-year storm, there will be no discharge from that basin. Additionally, we'll be providing some evergreen plantings. We propose some red cedars along the Route 12 frontage. The intention is to leave healthy, mature vegetation in the area. We will infill with the evergreen red cedars in that area. We're currently in the process of addressing comments from the town engineer, but I did want to present this to you guys tonight to get any of your input and if there are any comments or changes that we want to go with.
This is a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience with a comment or question on the application, just to note, to stress what he said, we are awaiting comments from the engineer, so this will also likely be continued to next month with the board's approval. But if anyone has a question or comment for this evening, you can step up to the microphone. Any comments or questions from board members?
I have one, Madam Chair. Is there going to be a revised excavation plan? Because the original proposal was, what, 9 excavation sites with lots of swailing and outlays and water collection. This is a fairly radical change in the sense that areas that were going to be in the top corner not excavated to Lakewood plan are now a prime area. So what's the modification to that plan?
We are not proposing to modify that excavation plan at all. The sequencing was modified at one point, I believe, So that sequencing will remain as is. This new display area will kind of function as a standalone area. And as I said, there's no substantial excavation to it. It's all within about 2 feet of the existing grades. So it's not a mining operation to remove any gravel out of sand out of that area.
Why the check-in building moved so far down to the left? That area was originally marked in the Euro plans to be vacant and left empty.
Yes, that was originally display area out there. This entire area here, this entire bottom of excavation area is all proposed to be display area. My understanding is the check-in building in that area is better for their circulation to check in and allows better queuing for them. Mark, is there any other substantial reason why?
We moved it out so we can keep the traffic off the route well. Sometimes you get a lot of traffic all at once. If we move it out longer, we can have the traffic off the property and not blocking traffic.
Appreciate that.
Any other comments or questions from board members? Any comments or questions from staff, except that we have some outstanding review to be done?
We'll address it before the next meeting.
Okay. So given that we do need some additional review of this application, I would recommend we continue the public hearing. Do I have a motion for that? I have a motion by June to continue.
Second.
Second by Bart. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, public hearing is continued to our next meeting in January. Thank you. Item D, 24-1CU of Stephen Bremgis, requesting a change in non-conforming use on property located at 60 Community Ave to change from retail sales to personal services, hair salon, Assessor's Map 2P, Block 30A, Lot 4, Industrial 1 zoning district. Do we have anyone to speak for the applicant tonight? Come on up. Yeah, just give a brief summary of what you want to do.
A salon, my daughter Ruby from Sterling, got a salon down there, building, attempt to go there. That's all we're looking for, change of use.
Okay. And Ryan, just for clarity's sake, with the non-conforming use, is it the lot size that is the non-conforming aspect?
This is a commercial aspect of an industrial zone. It's always been that way. It was initially the credit union for the mill, so it was always a commercial use instead of industrial use.
So it's the commercial aspect that's non-conforming.
Yes.
So the commercial aspect would not be changing, but the specific business within the commercial would be changing.
Yes, when you have a non-conforming use, you're allowed to change it to another similar non-conforming use. So going from retail sales to personal services requires the change.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so if there's anyone with a comment or question on this application, this is your opportunity. If you could just speak loudly, state your name, and let us know your comment.
Nice one.
Tom, come up here. Paul Sweet, 260 New Road. I just want to go on record supporting the application.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions from the public on this application? Any comments or questions from board members? Any additional comments from staff?
No.
Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by June.
Second.
Second by Bart. All in favor of closing the public hearing? Aye. Any opposed? Public hearing is closed. Moving on to the regular meeting. I call the regular meeting to order. Item 2, additions, corrections to the agenda. We do have one item to add under new business, item C, 2410SA. Do I have a motion to add that to the agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion by Bart.
Second.
Second by Frank. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that'll be added as item C under new business. Citizen participation. This is opportunity to address the board on something that was not a public hearing item. Okay, hearing and seeing none. Moving on to the unfinished old business. Item A, 24-8 SPL of Vijant LLC, requesting permission to construct a gas station, convenience store with drive-through on-site car wash property located at 340-342 Prospect Street, Assessor's Map 22, Block 88, Lot 5, C2 zoning district.
for the record, Norm Tebow, Killingly Engineering Associates. I am here representing PG&E this evening. I'm going to grab this microphone. It's just easier to stand out there and talk. What we have is this property on the corner of Prospect Street and Squaw Rock Road. This was a project that was actually approved by this commission a little over a year ago, and it has since changed ownership. So we are reconfiguring the property based upon the use that the applicant would like to have on the property. And it's actually the exact same use. There is a gas station with a convenience store, drive-through restaurant, the only difference is that previously the existing residence that's kind of located in the central western part of the property was being demolished previously. The current owner is keeping that residence in place. So as a result, instead of developing that property, which would have resulted in about an additional 10,000 square feet of pavement or so, the actual footprint of this development has been reduced. Entrance is exactly where it was previously. The egress is where it was previously, but we've really had to sort of condense the layout a little bit. And the way that it works, we've got the pumps in the canopy located in the northeast, the northwest corner of the property. There is an entrance from Prospect Street, Route 14. Also, there was one from Squaw Rock Road. The building itself will be a slab on grade, as most of these are. We have a drive-through, and we have a car wash just located. It's a single bay car wash that's going to be located parallel to the building on the eastern side of it. The previous car wash was located further away to the west. It was a larger car wash with a couple of bays. This is now just a single bay car wash. The diesel canopy is along the back of the building. We have access lanes on both sides of the diesel canopy, and we also have a bypass lane there as well. The previous design called for a stormwater basin over here, but as a result of the recent changes in the stormwater, the state stormwater regulations, we are no longer allowed to discharge any water from a use like this to a basin. In fact, it has to be captured and treated. So one of the byproducts of this reconfiguring of the site with the new stormwater regulations is that the stormwater in general is going to be a much better quality than it was with the previous approval and the 2004 stormwater regulations. So essentially, it's a counterclockwise moving through the site. We do have an entrance and egress here. The same thing there. The site will be the lighting on the site, other than the canopy itself, is going to be rather minimal. We have bollard lights around. We don't have any large lighting standards proposed for the site. There will be lighting on the building and a series of bollards around the perimeter of the property. We are showing a good landscaping buffer along as well. We did submit a waiver for a reduction in the 25-foot landscape buffer on the southern property line. It's the same buffer the same reduction that was granted by this commission previously, so we're not asking for anything above and beyond what you have previously permitted for this. Actually, one of the other changes as well is that he's potentially looking at putting a small package store in there. One of the requirements for a package store is that it cannot be combined with a convenience store. So we've shown in the building the three separate entrances and locations of where these particular commercial and retail stores would be located. They will be separate. They will have separate entrances, and total required parking spaces for this site based upon the square footage of the building is 28 spaces. We have provided a total of 33 spaces. We meet all of the other the building setback requirements. Lot area, 20,000 square feet. We are over 180,000 square feet. Lot frontage is 100 feet. We've got 920 feet. The front yard setback of 30 feet. We have 29 feet with the canopy. Side yard setback of 25. We have almost 47. And the rear yard setback of 25. We have about a little over 60 feet. And the maximum building height in the zone is 30 feet, and this will be approximately 28 feet in height for the building itself. Now, the stormwater, I think is kind of an important issue here because we do have just a wetland on site, and we do have a discharge to Squaw Rock Road. So, as a result of this, what we had to do is kind of redirect a lot of the drainage so that we did not have increases in those directions. The wetland ultimately discharges, it kind of works its way around, but it ultimately discharges north across Squaw Rock Road and makes its way down to a tributary of the Moosup River. And then the site itself, the slope kind of heads toward this egress and entrance on Squaw Rock Road. We are proposing a trench drain across that to capture that water, redirect it back toward the Prospect Street direction, and ultimately the water we're tying into the state drainage system. The state is requiring that there will be what's called a drainage concurrence, so that when the applicant is developing the site, they do have to apply to the state and establish that concurrence, which actually goes on file in the land records in the town as well. We are proposing increases to the Moosup River, which is allowable by the state stormwater regulations, provided the water quality is sufficient, which we have met here. And also, due to the fact that the Moosup River, there's about a 3,000-acre watershed that comes down through here. So long after the peaks from this property have finished, we're going to get the 24 to 36 hours later is when the Moosup River will be kind of raging, and we won't be contributing to it at that point. I think that's really kind of it. As I said, this was a previous approval. I actually worked with the town's reviewing engineer up until about 5:30 today to get the plans in shape and to address his comments. And the remaining comments were a couple of typographical errors and just some small discrepancies between the details and some of the things that were called out on the plans. Very, very minor in nature, and nothing that really impacts the site itself or the plans themselves. So I don't know if Ryan has anything further to add to this, but and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have as well.
Would you like to run through the...
I can do that for you. All right. So in the staff report, they did note some recommendations for conditions if approved. One, site signage will require review and a zoning permit from the zoning officer. 2, the dumpster pad shall be enclosed with stockade or vinyl fencing. 3, per the town engineer's comments on report dated December 10th, 2024, item A, comment number 5, the sequence contains a typo and must be corrected for the file. Item B, comment number 10, test pits for the proposed infiltration system must be performed with the data submitted for the file. If the test pit results require a design change, the project may need to come back before the commission for a modification prior to receiving a zoning permit to construct. Item C, comment number 14, based on the separator flows provided, Barracuda S4 can treat 1.2 CFS, which is acceptable for separator HS-1. However, HS-2 must treat 2.5 CFS. HS2 will require at least a model S6. The designer must update the plans for the correct separator models. Item D, comment number 24, this comment must still be addressed. Infiltration system ST-2 shows 9 chambers on the plans and the calculations indicate 6 chambers.
Those, aside from the test pits, all those other items have been addressed on the plans. And regarding those test pits, if I may, initially, he was requesting them because we had designed the system to be an infiltrating system. What we did is we took that aspect out of the drainage computations at this time, just because we did not have the time or the ability to go in there and do a permeability test. So the calculations as they are now assume that there's not going to be any infiltration. However, I am familiar with the site. I was familiar with the previous owners when they did the demolition out here. I can tell you the soils are really excessively drained, sands and gravels on the site. And the concern about possibly hitting ledge or something impermeable, I'm very confident that that's not going to be the case here. If you look on the soil survey, it indicates that these are all Merrimack and Hinkley soils, which are things that the folks who run the gravel operations really like. And based upon the previous activity out here, I can state for the record that that's exactly what we have here.
Any other comments or questions from board members?
The waiver request is applicable to the back line of the property, the abutment.
Could you point out exactly what you're requesting?
It's right in this area here. There's a small area in this corner here where we have a lesser than 25-foot buffer in this corner over here of the property.
And your waiver is confined to that component of the property?
Yes, it is. Yep.
For identification purposes in the motion, how should that be best identified?
Just the way I have it read.
As read? Okay. All right. Any other items from staff?
No.
Okay. So this item has two things we have to consider. The first is voting on the waiver request for the waiver of the 25-foot landscape buffer to the area as indicated on the map and read by staff. So if we want to consider that, I'll entertain a motion on the waiver request.
I would move to approve the waiver request to the 25-foot landscape buffer as dictated and read by the staff report.
Second.
I have a motion by Bart and a second by Frank. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the waiver request is approved. Then we have to vote on the application itself. There were conditions as read, so if you want to include those in your motion, just say with the conditions as read. So do I have a motion on the application?
I would move we approve with conditions as read, Madam Chair.
Okay. I have a motion by Bart,
Second.
second by Frank. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, application is approved with conditions as read. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to item B, 24-15 SP of Mitchell Bay, requesting a special permit for an ADU on property located at 45 Lake Street, Assessor's Map 4M, Block 109, Lot 45. Items for discussion on this application. There was some conditions. The first being the two adjoining bedrooms of the proposed ADU shall be combined by removing the separating wall. Item 2, the special permit record must be recorded with the town clerk prior to receiving a zoning permit. And item 3, a building permit will be required. This approval does not guarantee compliance with the building code. Any other items for discussion on this application?
I would move to approve the stipulations included as read.
Okay, I have a motion by Bart, second by June. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Application is approved with conditions as read. Item C, the public hearing was continued, so I'll entertain a motion to continue that item.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by June, second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Application is continued. Item D, 24-1CU of Stephen Remgis, requesting change in non-conforming use on property located at 60 Community Ave to change from retail sales to personal services hair salon. Assessor's Map 2P, Block 30A, Lot 4, Industrial 1 zoning district. Any items for discussion on this application?
That was originally moved
No, it's still in an industrial zone, that's why they need the waiver for non-conforming.
It was never
It
residential.
was never,
No.
we never got that.
No, this was always commercial, it was just various uses within commercial.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion by June to approve.
I have an amendment to that motion, specifically that the special permit be recorded with the town clerk and the use of compliance permit is required from the zoning office.
Thank you. June, do you want to
I'll revise.
amend? Okay.
Then I will second that motion as amended.
All right, so June motion to approve with the conditions as read by Bart. Bart has seconded that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Application is approved. All right, item E, 24-12, TA of Planning and Zoning Commission, proposing a text amendment to zoning regulations, general updates to section 12.32, earth excavation, processing, and removal. So I know we have some items for discussion. One of the noted on the public hearing was limiting the federal holidays to major federal holidays. So is that a change that the commission would like to move forward with? And if so, how would you like to limit those holidays?
I agree with it, but doing the list of the holidays, or
I mean, if we limit them by name, then there will still be an objection, because someone will argue that they should be allowed that many. If we say 10, it might drop to 8. I mean, it doesn't sound like anyone's wanting the federal holidays included. There's 10 of them on the federal government calendar as opposed to the Wall Street calendar.
So we do have the ability to limit, so when we look at previous applications that we have approved, Katie had provided that list, and there were some itemized lists of major holidays. So major holidays could be New Year's, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Memorial Day, 4th of July. Some of the, you could say, non-major holidays, Martin Luther King Day, Columbus Day, Veterans Day, President's Day, and I'm missing one.
At that point, don't we risk offending veterans and other people who take those holidays to be more practical? I mean, I'm just playing the devil's advocate here. We're basically chopping up 10 days.
Sure.
I would say the major, like Casella has.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're in the deliberation, so if we could keep the sidebar conversations, that would be great. Thank you.
I know Casella always, or Willamette Waste always had just the 4 major: Christmas, Memorial Day, 4th of July, and there was one of them. And those were the New Year's. Which seemed to make sense.
I got a summary of the Killing in Brooklyn. They did the exact same thing. We broke it out into specific.
And before you move forward, I just need to clarify. Alternates who are not seated cannot deliberate. Am I right about that, Ryan?
That's correct.
Okay. So if you could just give me your sheet, I will.
Sure.
Thank you. All right. So just clarity for the public, we have 5 full-seated board members. There are 2 alternates at the table. However, if they're not seated as a board member, they're not allowed to vote, they're not allowed to deliberate. So that's why, unfortunately, he can't contribute to this conversation. So it's just
No discussion from alternates as well.
not during deliberation. Yeah. All right. So staff had provided some,
5 holidays, I'd like to include
those 5 major holidays?
Yeah.
Okay. So staff had included a report that had given us all the other neighboring towns. So specifically in Killingly and Brooklyn, they did name out the holidays: Christmas, New Year's, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Thanksgiving. Labor Day was not listed on some of those, so that was not considered part of. But in some of the permits that we have previously done, we did include Labor Day as a holiday not to be open. So then that would be 6 holidays.
If it's not in the amendment, though, would we artificially, for a specific permit, listed a day that could not be, wouldn't that be breaking from the purpose of the amendment to provide a general guideline? And then we're adding additional restrictions to the individual application, who could, fire back and say, well, how come others don't have to do that? Why am I being added?
Well, so some of the other previously approved ones say no major holidays, but they don't itemize or determine. So essentially what we're doing is now defining what those major holidays would be. So I think that would be a helpful tool.
Okay. Definitely yes for Memorial Day. As far as Labor Day is concerned, I'd leave it for the laborers. to decide if they want to celebrate it or not.
Okay, all right. So we have Christmas, New Year's, Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Thanksgiving. So that would be 5 major holidays. Okay. So staff, if you could make a note that in item D, where we would amend where it says no federal holiday, we would update that to no major federal holidays, which are defined as Christmas, New Year's Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Thanksgiving. So those would be the 5 major holidays. Okay. We had also talked about the hours of operation, changing the end time from the allowable 7 p.m. to 5 p.m. And this was a result of numerous public hearings where we had limited previous operations due to public feedback and comment. So in essence, the regulation gives the maximum allowable. So we would be reducing the maximum allowable with the caveat that grandfathered, exempt, do not have to comply. Previously applied for applications have the ability to request their previously approved hours. So this would be for new operations moving forward. So what is the discussion on the end time? With the understanding that we're trying to bring balance from public feedback we've gotten, which is what generated this.
I agree
Oh,
with
Frank
Monday,
first?
Friday, 5 p.m.
5
Agree
p.m.
with that.
Okay.
Did you get feedback on Saturdays from anyone in the public? Or?
So we had previously with other applications, which is what generated this discussion. So we had been moving towards the 8 to 12. We do have some previously applied for and approved that are 7 to 12, 9 to 12, but they could request their previously approved hours. So this would just be for new applications moving forward.
We did have comment from one individual who asked for 8 to 2.
Yep, during the public hearing, which that would be an expansion of what's previously been approved, so I'm not sure that, the board was looking to expand based on the previous conversations when reviewing this.
I don't think 8 to 12 on Saturday is unusual.
Any other comment on those hours?
I'm in favor of extending it to 2 o'clock. And I think residents or owners, if they have a project that's going on, I'm pretty sure they probably want to wrap it up, and it can be wrapped up. The 2 additional hours added to it. And I don't think it would impact their neighbors or traffic in any way.
I know the next week, there's like the first to say it on the talk, and not quite particularly, but it basically is, there's a comment made that we are restricting work hours to be unbusiness friendly. For the record, we just agreed that a maximum of 57 days out of 365, and 52 of those are Sundays. So I don't understand how we're restricting business, especially on a Saturday, when we have noise ordinances and other things that residential and commercial have to abide by. So I don't feel we're being over restrictive. 2 o'clock, I mean, it really seems like the attitude is we should allow them almost most of the Saturday to work. That's the only sentiment I'm getting from the room.
And I used to work as a contractor.
Well, and
We work till 6 o'clock on Saturdays.
And I greatly respect that. I mean, everyone puts their time. It's just, what are we going to do hypothetically when we have a dozen residents complaining that it's a 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. run, they don't feel like their Saturday is their Saturday because
You complain to the neighbor that's having fun.
well, I would just say that the Saturday till noon has been pretty consistent in the past few years. So I would want to keep the 8 to 12 on Saturday for consistency's sake, rather than expand that one. Just my 2 cents. Any other comments from board members on that aspect?
Actually, I agree with that.
I'm going from a weaker to not work.
Sure.
Having been woken up by, tailgate slamming at 6
2 p.m.?
morning,
Are you worried about 2 p.m.?
and on Saturday, and sometimes even on Sunday. If you haven't had the experience.
I just extended to 2. I didn't say make it work like 6 in the morning.
Well,
Okay.
I don't know. I still like the 8 to 12
Okay.
on Saturday.
So So it looks like majority of board is looking to keep the 12th section. So we'd be looking at operating hours shall be between the hours of 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Saturday, with no Sunday or major federal holidays, which includes Christmas, New Year's Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Thanksgiving. All right. We had the clarification note about the industrial districts. Was that the end time of 7 p.m., Ryan?
Yes, as was
For
currently.
the industrial? Okay. All right, and I believe that takes care of D. Then we have to look at the setback section. So we were looking to change the minimum setback from 50 to 100 feet, except when part of an approved site. Staff, in conversation during the public hearing, mentioned that the commission could put in a notation that the commission may have the discretion to grant a reduction in the setback to no less than 50 feet. Is that a clause that the board would want to include in that section? Yes, yes,
I have no
Craig?
problem with it.
Okay. And did that language sound right, Ryan?
Yeah, well, as long as we say on the record that there will be a waiver option for the 100 feet down to 50 feet.
Down to 50, so it's not a complete waiver, it's a reduction,
Well, a reduction down to what's currently in the regulation.
which is 50 feet. Okay. All right. Any other items on that section? Okay. And I think that covers all the items I had noted for discussion. Are there any other items that the board wishes to review or discuss? Okay. So in this motion, when making a motion to approve, there does have to be an effective date. Staff, would you recommend January 1st as the effective date?
I would.
Okay. So in making your motion, noting the effective date of January 1st, and then including the revisions as noted in the deliberation. So do I have a motion on this application?
I'll make a motion to approve with the changes as discussed during deliberation, including the named federal holidays and the waiver provision for the 100-foot buffer.
Okay, and also include the plan of conservation development language.
Right, exactly. Should I do that?
Yep, so it's in accordance.
Okay. Yeah. Under section 2, goals, intent number 1 is to provide the opportunity for all households to live in a safe, sanitary, and attractive home and neighborhood. This amendment is tightening the earth excavation regulations to reduce impacts to neighborhoods.
And effective date January 1st?
Effective date January 1st, 2025.
Okay.
Second that?
All right, so I have a motion by John to approve with the effective date of January 1st with the revisions as noted in our discussion and in compliance with the plan of conservation and development. I have a second by June. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, application is approved with an effective date of January 1st, 2025. Moving on to new business. Item A, 2419 SP of Sammy P. Inc., requesting a renewal of earth excavation operation. This is a special permit and will require a public hearing. So I'll entertain a motion to schedule a public hearing in January.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by June and a second by John. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Application is scheduled for public hearing. Item B, 24-12, SPL of Plainfield Pike LLC, requesting a modification to an approved site plan for property located at 113 Plainfield Pike. Improvements include revisions to the easterly retaining walls and grading and drainage in the northwest portion of the site. Assessors map 17, block 36, lot 68, industrial 1 and industrial 2 zoning districts. And we have speaking for the applicant.
For the record, Kevin Hickson with BO Companies, 255 Research Parkway, Meriden, Connecticut. And also here is Cody with the road from BO Companies as well for any technical comments that you have. So I want to just go through some of the items here. There's 3 items.
Could you just let us know what page you're on, please?
This is GE0. And I provided some additional copies to Ryan from here tonight. And of the revised plans as well that address the comments of the town engineer had.
Thank you.
So I've highlighted in this plan here, there's 3 areas in yellow where we made some modifications to the plan. At one point, we had a retaining wall on the east side that has been reduced with some added grading to reduce the length of the walls. So there's a north wall, which has the, basically the north-east area. It's the northerly wall, has a basically a fire suppression tank west of the retaining wall. And the retaining wall is about a 10-foot wall, and then it's a 10-foot wall. And then there's a southerly retaining wall down here, which has a swale on top of it because it slopes down from east to west, and there's a swale at the top of the wall, and I'll get to a detailed view of that. But the town engineer asked that we add some yard drains at the north and south side of that swale, so we can prevent any erosion going on with that retaining wall. And then at the northwest corner, there's an infiltration basin that the town engineer requested that we set an elevation, and I'll get into that in a bit, set an elevation for the top of it to be 8 feet wide. So this is the north retaining wall here, where we've added the underdrain for the retaining wall, and you can see the slope at a 2-1 slope that's added throughout here. We've also, this line right here, as noted by town engineer, it's comment number 1, it was a previous comment regarding earth and burn.
Could you just confirm the page number?
GE2.
Thank you.
Okay. So on GE2, this first comment was previous comment regarding earth and burn that we had to the existing wetlands. That's been addressed by the designer, and just for the commission, this would be this swale right here, 3 foot wide, 12 inches high, that goes along the edge of the wetlands that's indicated here. There's a detail for that provided in the DN1 sheet. But to this is the northern retaining wall that we have here. And we provided the, basically the 4-inch PVC drain that ties into the stormwater system that you see on site. And this has a pad FFE of 316.9 for the fire suppression tank. Moving on to sheet E3. This is the southerly retaining wall right here. And then you can see on top of it, east of the wall, there's a swale that comes down, intercepts the upland grades, the 2-1 slope that comes down. And then we've added, for the town engineer, we've added 2 yard drains on the north and south side of it that then will tie into the tie into the proposed stormwater system, and as designed, take in that additional water to prevent scour, any erosion during higher intensity storm events. I think it's a great idea from the town. So that's comment number 2 from the town engineer. 25 contour, which creates this 8-foot berm that comes around for the basin. So we provided that to address his comment, which would be comment number 4, and just going through sequentially sheet 4. And then we've addressed on sheet EC 2.3, we've addressed his comment of updating to reflect the controls of the swale and the new yard drain for the revised southern retaining wall. So we provided that on, as you can see here, this is the retaining wall, the southern retaining wall. So that's the changes that we've done for this, and we've also provided the flood control ordinance design certification on GE0, stamp signed by licensed Connecticut DE engineer Cody, who's here tonight. And I'll open it up to any questions that anybody would have, or Brian, if you want to add anything additional.
No, all comments have been addressed. I do have some suggested conditions of approval.
Okay, so the staff did note the conditions of approval. Item 1, all aspects of the original approved 24-1 SPL and modification 24-9 SPL control, with the exception of the modifications approved with this application. 2, Mylars are to be recorded in the town clerk's records prior to the zoning permit being modified so that construction can begin. Item 3, all town ends are to be paid within 30 days of receipt and prior to receiving the modified zoning permit to begin work. Are there any other items for discussion among board members? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on the application, and if you would please include the conditions as read.
I move to approve the conditions as read.
Okay. Motion by Bart, second by Frank. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Application is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on. Item C, 24-10SA of Ernest Colello Jr. applying for a 4-lot subdivision on property located on Moosup Pond Road, Assessor's Map 22, Block 88C, Lot 1, RA 60 zoning district. And we have speaking to the applicant?
Yes.
Thank you. And staff did note that the plans have not been reviewed by town staff yet. 4-lot subdivision, does that require a public hearing? It does not. Okay, thank you.
All right, for the record, Norm Tebow, Killingly Engineering Associates. I'm here representing Ernest Colello Jr. This evening for this proposed 4-lot subdivision. Access from Moosup Pond Road, Interstate 395 is just to the northwest of the site. This is kind of the culmination of a project where there were 2 lots purchased that they both qualified for free splits. So the 2 lots became 4 lots. Three of those lots are going to remain as single-family building lots. And this final parcel, which is 9.9 acres, we're here before you to seek approval for this 4-lot subdivision. As you can see here, we're showing some generic house layouts at this point with the on-site septic system, the wells. These are pretty flat lots in comparison to further back on the property. But development, we have 3 frontage lots on Moosup Pond Road and 1 rear lot of about just slightly less than 3.5 acres that'll be toward the rear of the property. All the soil testing has been done with the health department. They have reviewed the plans. The properties are capable of supporting on-site well and septic. No roadways are approved, relatively flat sites, so it's not a huge generation of stormwater off of these properties at all. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I mean, as far as subdivisions go, this is, I think, a relatively simple project, just because there's really no...
Any questions from board members? Given that staff has not reviewed and the town engineer needs to also review, I would recommend that we continue this to our next monthly meeting.
So moved.
A motion by Bart, second by June. All in favor of continuing? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, application is continued to next month. Review and act on the minutes of the November 12th meeting. I did notice that the minutes were labeled October 8th, so we do need to fix that. So changing the date to November 12th. Were there any other comments or changes on the meeting minutes?
I think I saw my name spelled wrong in one, just in one instance, so it doesn't look.
Okay, well, we can certainly amend and change the date and the name. No problem. Any other changes to the minutes?
Move to approve with two stipulated changes.
Okay, motion by Bart,
I'll second it.
second by June. All in favor of approving minutes with those changes? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, meeting minutes are accepted. Moving on to correspondence.
So we do have some correspondence. We have received an application, well, it's a notification from the Siting Council that Verizon has a tower at 1197 Norwich Road. This is the former Jaworski building / handcraft building. They're just going to be replacing antennas. And then we also had, if you look at the back of your packets, there's a Connecticut land use, municipal land use agencies, boards and commissions, and that is a seminar to be held on March 22nd. There's a full day seminar, it is virtual, it is $60, and anybody who would like to attend can sign up for that, and if you get me your receipt, I will reimburse you.
So Ryan, in the past, staff just processed the registration automatically for the board. Is that something you'll be able to do this time, or?
So, no,
Okay.
because it only allows you to do it through one IP address.
Oh, okay. All right, so they can't do a group registration.
Right.
Okay, all right. I have attended this pretty much every 2 years for the past 20 years. It is a highly valuable training, so I highly recommend if you're able to go. And also, it complies with all state requirements for training. Am I right about that, Ryan? Okay, they usually try to. So if you attend this, you can check off your training for the next 2 years. So highly recommend, personal endorsement. Report from zoning enforcement.
Nothing more than we have today.
Okay, so nothing more than report. Report from planning department.
Nothing new.
All right, no additional comments. So under other, we have item A, discussion regarding the industrial regulations. I believe the only change we were planning on making was to have a threshold for public hearing, which was the 10,000 square feet. Did board members have any other items, or should we have staff move forward with presenting that application? I see Frank's affirmative.
Yeah. We should put on the calendar for the January meeting this presentation.
Okay. So Ryan, if you could insert that language into the industrial regs and have that presented as an application at our next meeting?
Yep.
And then once we accept the application, then we could schedule that public hearing, right?
Correct.
All right, thank you. Review and act on the 2025 meeting dates. Did anyone have any items for the meeting dates that needed to be revised or discussed? I don't recall seeing any issues with the dates.
There was one that's on Wednesday, correct?
Yes.
The one for next year's schedule.
That was because of election day.
Election day, right?
Yeah. Yep, so that was the one change, I believe, was because of election day.
So I would move to approve the dates as presented.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the dates by Bart.
Actually, we don't have election day, but Tuesday, the 11th.
Oh, it must be because of Veterans Day? That's why
Right.
it's being moved
Right,
to Veterans Day?
Veterans Day.
Okay.
Okay, just wanted to check.
Yeah, that explains it.
Okay, yeah.
I'll second.
So I have a motion by Bart and a second by John. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, meeting calendar is approved. Item C is an 824 referral abandonment of Brunswick Pump Station. Do you want to give a summary of that, Ryan?
Sure.
Thank you.
We have an old outdated pump station at the end of Brunswick Ave. It's along, or nearby the river. It's an approximately 4,800 square foot parcel with about 4,000 square feet of usable area. It is zoned industrial. It was constructed specifically for the Brunswick Mill. It was constructed on mill property across the street from it. The mill then deeded that property, a little square of it, to the town. So it's basically an island in the middle of a larger parcel. The larger parcel is zoned RA60 residential. So the pump station has not been in operation since around 2000 when the mill burned down. It did have one operating pump just for water intrusion, which is water getting to the pipes, also rainwater falling into it because it is an open basin. So it's basically a swimming pool, concrete swimming pool with a pump in it. That pump has now failed, so there is nothing to remove the water that goes into it. It is a hazard. The town needs to demolish it. We received, I believe, 2 proposals to demolish, both in the $60,000+ range. We have an offer from the property owner of the surrounding property that he would take it over for $1 and demolish the pump station at his own expense. So the town is looking to do the swap.
Now, this was voted on at a town meeting last week, so should the referral have happened before the town meeting?
I did ask the town attorney that question because the scheduling was off. He said it doesn't matter as long as the commission does give it.
Okay. So this is another step in the process of a sale of a town property. It was voted and approved at town meeting last week. Any items for discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on the 824 referral.
I would move that we recommend sale of the parcel as stipulated.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have the motion to approve by Bart and a second by June. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, 824 referral is approved. And seeing no other items of business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by June. Second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everybody. Meeting is adjourned.